Hey, Mike Wolf from Mike Wolf Mastery. And today I want to clear up what I think is one of the biggest misconceptions in real estate. And quite often we hear the saying cash is king. And, cash is obviously important. It's great to have access to capital, but cash sitting in your bank account or even equity in a property in your home that you could potentially utilize to buy more real estate, that's a waste because you're actually losing against inflation every day, especially right now. I mean, the government is printing trillions of dollars. If you're watching this during the COVID era, right now, we're in the middle of COVID, and uh, the government has printed so much capital, so much money, and put it into the economy. And having cash sitting in your bank account, you're losing ground on a daily basis. So that money has to be working hard for you. The other thing is, what you buy with that cash is also really important. A lot of people make the mistake of trying to create cash flow early on when they actually should be trying to create more wealth. And wealth actually comes from appreciation. So let me give you an example. If you were to buy a property, right now, and here we are once again in the middle of COVID, and most markets are appreciating like crazy at the moment. And that's because there's a big shortage of properties on the market. A lot of people don't want other people going through their home. They don't want, a lot of people are worried, and a lot of people are not putting their homes on the market right now. There's a lot less inventory than is typically out there. And so what we find is I see a lot of people now trying to go for the markets, because now all of a sudden everybody's trying to get into real estate that should have got in years ago and would be really benefiting from that appreciation. So what they're doing is they're trying to get into the markets that haven't gone up. Well, you have to ask yourself, why didn't those markets go up? If there's a shortage of homes everywhere and almost every market is appreciating, why did these specific markets, why do they not go up? Well, the reason is people are moving to places where there's jobs, because so many people have lost their businesses. They've lost their jobs over the last year and a half or so. And so they're looking for one, jobs, and two, a low cost of living. And the markets that aren't going up typically are not creating jobs. There's usually in markets that are shrinking in population, the number of buyers in the market is very, very low. And you just see people chasing after homes just because they're cheap. And that's the absolute worst reason to go after a property. Also, you have to keep in mind that if people are moving away and there's no demand, well, what's going to happen to your rent? Your rent is probably never going to go up. It's probably going to come down. And early on in your investing career, you need to focus on that appreciation, as I mentioned. So imagine you bought a home. My favorite market is still Atlanta. I've been there for around 10 years, but I've worked in numerous markets all over Canada and the United States. And a lot of the markets, if you would have bought pre-COVID, you'd be considerably up right now. And a lot of those markets were undervalued for many, many years. And now they're just correcting to where they should have been in the first place. There's other markets, though, that are staying the same or they're even dropping. And once again, those are usually the places where they create what I call paper returns. On paper, it looks great. Yeah, I can buy this home for really cheap. I can buy a home for $50,000 or $30,000, and it's going to rent for $900 a month, and it looks amazing. Those are what I call paper returns. When you get into markets like that, typically what happens is you're dealing with tenants that you're in a market with high unemployment. The tenants can't keep a job even if they wanted to. And eventually, usually meaning after 2 or 3 months, they're not going to pay any rent. Not only that, I can tell you that in markets like that, when there's no jobs, people turn to stealing, and they'll break into your home and pretty much rip off copper wiring. You'll be seeing people walking down the streets, and I've seen this in Detroit, by the way, when I tried to buy homes there a number of years ago, which I don't recommend personally. I did not have a good experience. But you see people actually literally walking across the street with hot water tanks and you name it, anything that wasn't nailed down, and even things that were nailed down, they were stealing. So you tend to get into these markets and you end up with really high repair bills because of vandalism. Normally you're buying old homes because the builders aren't building. If there's no demand, the builders aren't building. So these are some of the things you want to look out for. So early on in your career, get into markets that are going to go up and that are ripe for appreciation. And how you find those markets, look for places where the population is growing, where lots of jobs are constantly being created. And so I'm going to choose Atlanta again because the government is very business friendly. And they give a lot of tax incentives for businesses to move there, knowing they're going to employ a lot of people, knowing that they can tax all these workers. And so Microsoft recently announced that they're making that one of their hubs, and they're bringing in 9,000 jobs, I heard. But also we've got, say, head office to Coca-Cola, Turner Broadcasting, Home Depot, Delta Airlines. The list goes on and on and on. And I'm not trying to sell you anything in Atlanta, although I can help you there if that's something you're interested in. But what I'm getting at is that 5 years from now, if you buy in these markets that are ripe for appreciation and you have all this equity, that's going to allow you to buy more properties. Now, in the early part of your career, if you're just going after cash flow and trying to get that extra $50 or $100 a month, yeah, in a year, if you get an extra $100 a month, you got an extra $1,200 in revenue, but you're missing the big prize. And that's when your home goes up by hundreds of thousands of dollars, which allows you to buy more properties. And later on in your career, when you're trying to replace your job, trying to create freedom for yourself, that's where you start focusing on more, maybe a little bit, putting more of your money into cash flow, although you still want to get into markets. You should always have both, the best of both worlds. You should be looking at markets where you're going to get appreciation, and you still want the cash flow too. You don't want a property that you're continuously feeding. So I'm not saying buy that. Don't buy in markets like California or New York right now. Buy in places where you're going to get the best of both worlds. And depending on where you are in your career, you can focus a little bit more on cash flow and give up a little bit of that appreciation just so that you can create that lifestyle for yourself. But timing is everything. And keeping money in cash is almost never a good idea. And I see lots of times, people, they've got money sitting under their mattress or in their bank account doing nothing. And you're just getting further behind. I also see people with equity in their homes that they could borrow that and use that to get into more properties that are going to create revenue for you. And also in their retirement accounts, if you have money if you're invested in something that's underperforming in your retirement account, a lot of people don't know you can make that self-directed. And that's in both, in the United States for sure, but there's also opportunities in Canada to do things with your retirement money. So this is all stuff that if you don't know about, you're leaving money on the table and you're going to be working for a lot longer than you need to. So let me show you how to replace that income. So make sure you reach out to me. I'm Mike Wolf from Mike Wolf Mastery. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Hey, Mike Wolf here. Today I'm in a place called Bansko, which is in Bulgaria, Eastern Europe. And this is my first time here. I've been traveling around Europe for a couple of months now. And this is, I think, my 7th country so far, and many more to come. But it's all possible because of the passive income I've created through real estate. So if you want to learn how to do this too, make sure you click the link below. We'll have a conversation to see if my Wolf Pack, which is my mentorship program, is right for you.